We are live.
Okay. So calling to order the Park Commission meeting of January 5th, 2021. Happy New Year, everybody. I will proceed with roll call as people show on my screen. David Raymond.
Present.
Mary Elizabeth Kofer.
Present.
Don Hudson.
Present.
And Phil McDuffie, myself, is present. Right now, we will open it up for public comments. Any citizens wishing to address the park commissions with items not on the agenda, now is your time. I don't see that we have any outside people other than Steve, who seems to be inside outside.
And Steve, I didn't have an item for you on the agenda, so if you have any updates or anything, you can do them here during public comment.
Yeah, I'll give you guys a brief update. I know numbers are going up. Nothing's really changed from the state of Texas on youth sports or anything like that. So as of the present time, our registration is open. We are signing kids up. The plan, unless something changes, the plan would be to start practices the first or second week of February. Games would start towards the end of February. But all that is, up in the air, just, seeing how the cases continue to go. We will, even with the vaccines, I know it hadn't been rolled out to a lot of people, but as far as we're concerned, we will still operate with the same safety and health protocols that we put in place for the fall season. Even if the vaccine continues to roll out to more and more people. If that changes, we'll let you know, but we'll still have the hand sanitizer machines, social distancing, wearing masks when you can't social distance, all that. And then we will evidently be working with our other peer leagues to see just kind of how they're evidently, we are very reliant on them to play games. So if things are happening with them and they're shutting things down, we would follow suit just because we wouldn't have teams to play against. So I will give you guys an update as soon as I know if any schedule changes do take place. The only thing I could think of is maybe there would be kind of a delay and see how the numbers continue to progress and maybe delay the season a little bit or something. But like I said, we'll meet with our peer leagues and kind of communicate with them to see what they're thinking also. Other than that, I know, I was up there recently. I know I'm doing an equipment kind of a check on park facilities. I know we need to get a good adequate number on kind of what equipment we actually have, like park equipment. So bleachers, picnic tables, those types of things. So I know we're doing a number check on those things. And then I think that's about it that I know of.
Do you have any update on the fencing?
Yes, I have reached out to Viking again. I've reached out to them a couple times to get a rebid on the sunscreen. They had never responded to that. But then the last time I emailed them yesterday to say, hey, we wanted to go forward with the little fencing repair project to hopefully see if that would bring them forward if they knew we were actually going to spend money. So I'm waiting to hear back from them. And I told them I'd like to get that done immediately. So we'll get that going as soon as I hear from them.
Great. Any
other work? And keep in mind, that is just the small repairs on the gates and some of the fencing areas that are significantly in need of repair. Not the full fencing repair at this time.
We've been
Sure.
trying to get those gates repaired for so long. I mean, we're looking at a year now.
Yeah, I'm, yeah, Viking. I mean, if I had someone else that would be more responsive, the other company that Catherine Horn had gotten bids from, basically said they will not do small repairs because then they basically, because they all give a warranty, and then it's like, okay, which piece of the fence is their warranty and which is not? And so I have had a very hard time finding companies to actually do, piecemeal repairs. They either want to do the whole thing or they don't want to do it all. So Viking, unfortunately, has not been super responsive. And if I could find someone else, I would, and I just haven't been able to.
Do we have an existing warranty or anything with Viking other than the sunscreen that you mentioned?
We don't have a sunscreen up yet. We don't have any. I don't know how old the original fence is. So I don't know who put it in. That was way before my time. So
Sure.
I
Well,
doubt there is a warranty at all on it right now.
So if there's no warranties, why are we reaching out to these big companies? Why don't we reach out to somebody that just, does small jobs?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Is just get an independent contractor to just knock out this, gate or the gates. And, we don't need a warranty. I mean, it's with the nature of the field and kids climbing on fences and everything else that goes on, it's pretty likely that somebody could be able to avoid a warranty if they wanted to, too. So I don't know.
Steve, can you reach out to somebody smaller instead of these big companies? I mean, I think there's a lot of people that need the work anyway.
Yeah, I'll definitely, I guess I need to do some research to find if I can find a handyman or somebody that would be willing to do fencing repairs, I guess.
Okay, great. I'm looking forward to hear what you find out.
They're pretty uncomplicated. I don't think, I agree with you, Phil. I don't think a warranty is necessary. Fences, gates get out of adjustment and they're not terribly difficult to readjust. So I agree, a small contractor, handyman kind of guy. Yeah.
Okay.
On also, just because people are going to ask me, so I'm trying to get answers so I can help take some of the heat up. As far as aerating and maybe reseeding fields and things like that, is there any kind of time frame on that? We're not. Yeah.
That's with the new lease that's under the city.
Okay.
I haven't per se talked to David about his plan. I'm not sure if Amber has recently about any plans to do things in the park.
Okay.
Well, David's here and so is Vicky, and I was just asking them if they thought the fence repair job was something they could do, and they think it is. So if Steve, if you want to walk them through, or do y'all have a good understanding of what needs repaired in the fencing?
We've seen pictures.
Okay, they've got pictures, they understand, so we'll just try to tackle it.
That would be great, but I hope this would be put at the top of the list because seriously, we've been talking about this a year at least.
We
Yeah.
also, well, yeah. I want to have, want to promote, a partnership with Western Hills as always, but also this, with the new lease, this was under their jurisdiction. So I don't know if we would need to kind of figure out a rate and bill them back or do anything like that, or whether, whether any of that's necessary. If that's something that we might consider, because that is kind of under y'all's purvey. And since you've got that $30-something thousand to nut to eat, it might help to to nibble away at that, you know.
I will work with Amber directly and figure out if there is a cost they can associate, and then we can pay for it. And yes, that was included in our 30,000 of capital improvements. So we can definitely figure something out and reimburse the city if they have a set cost they can give us.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Like that.
Yay, partnership. Love it. All right. Well, I don't have anything else. Anybody else have anything to?
I would
Dave?
like to
Not
say,
a question.
If someone could send Public Works an idea of what kind of gates that they want, so that we get the right thing the first time around, what all works for everybody.
I think the biggest thing is that they're the black, matching the current, the current fencing that we have. So black poles, black gates, and then just, a swing down latch, that type of thing, as far as I'm concerned.
I think just look at the existing gates.
Some of the existing gates are still silver. That's why I'm making the point of
Ah,
all consistent black, but they
Ah.
tend to be the smaller ones. And the main gate that we need to address is a larger gate, and it would be a bit, and it's right there near one of the fields, so it actually could be eye distracting for the ball players as well. So, but yeah, there's that. And, the aesthetics of having it disappear to the eye a bit more with the black and the black everything. So I think as long as it's in that realm, that would be what I would think would be necessary. You may need to sink a new pole too as well, David. I think the existing pole is way off track, so you're probably going to need to dig out and sink a brand new anchor pole for the back of that gate. But go ahead.
And we were moving a portion of the fence and the gate at one area. So David, it might make sense for me to meet with you and kind of show you exactly what I had talked to Viking about, so you truly understand what we were trying to accomplish, I guess.
And if you guys don't have any objections, I would love to be a fly on the wall to that discussion, just so I can be there as well. That'd be great.
Not at all.
That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Sounds perfect. Anything else?
Nothing for me.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you.
thank you, Steve.
All right, moving on to our regular agenda. So we only really have one item. Nicole charged us with looking at no, sorry, I messed up. Next thing we need to do is look at the meeting minutes for December the 1st and see whether or not we want to amend those in any way or adopt them. Does anybody have any amendments that they think are necessary in the previous meetings minutes? Hearing none, I didn't either. All right, so now we get to go on to Nicole's request that we all look at the
Could we
park
get
master.
a motion
Oh.
to approve those minutes, please?
Okay, so, oh yeah, thank you. So motion to approve, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, or wave your hand.
We get a second,
Any- Oh, sorry.
David,
I'll
thank you.
second. David's got it.
There we go. Sorry. All right, now we have
Aye.
a motion and a second.
Aye.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, everybody said aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Sorry about that. These allergies are killing me. So now we're on to the park master plan and reviewing that and looking at any items that we think can and possibly should be implemented by or recommended for implementation by the Park Commission. So anybody that wants to jump in, Don, you're right front and center. You want to go first?
Sure. Over the last few days, I read through the Park Commission, that stack of papers you gave me, Phil. And in general, I think it would be great if we could make this thing look more like a community park. I realize that baseball has a 10-year contract on that property, but no offense to baseball or you, Steve, or anything, but I think all that metal is ugly. And I don't know if there's anything we can do about it. Do we really need all those high backstops? I worked with youth soccer for a long time, and they'd kick a ball out of bounds and it'd go out of bounds, and somebody would chase it down and start over. I would love to see that more readily available for youth sports in general. It can certainly, baseball, when baseball is in and playing, that's great. Not to take away from that, but having, for example, large patches of the dirt infield, and that being something that baseball doesn't want anybody to mess up. It takes that portion of that field and almost that whole field out of use by people in general. So I know as I looked at the master plan, they showed a lot of different configurations. It's looked more like they're making it into a multi-use field. That was the part of the master plan that I liked. And how that interacts with a 10-year lease with baseball, I don't know. But it's with all the fencing and the high stops and the high backstops, I would just love it if we could work with baseball somehow and just make that more attractive. And, for me growing up, I always had either school fields or vacant lots that were sodded. And we played touch football on those all the time. And, or we played tag. There were just places to go play. And I know you have a little bit of play on those fields, but the commitment to baseball makes them highly, highly underutilized. So as far as what I would like to see happen is I would like to see, and it may not be possible, but see if we come up with a strategy and a plan that would make those fields more readily available to youth sports, pickup games and that kind of thing. So that was one thing that I landed on. The other thing, I think I went to one of the long meetings they had at the city hall, and I found the architects that were putting that together to be pretty vigorous in their analysis of the needs of the community and the park and all that stuff. And some that they included in this master plan. This master plan is not really a plan. Here's a whole bunch of proposals and a bunch of but all the park areas they're either dedicated to youth sports or children's playscapes with there's no spot that's really attractive to adults and just an adult oriented area. That sounds nasty, but something that my children are grown and they have children, so I don't, I like children, but it's something that's just not present in that park, and it is the center of our city. It's a very important part of the city, and I would love it if there was a and I don't even know what it would be, but the master plan talks about that a little bit. Something more of an older people gathering place that was real attractive. Those are my thoughts. Make the fields more attractive and more available to non-baseball, maybe even pickup games in general. And as the deed restrictions go, the deed restrictions don't limit it to organized sports. They talk about organized sports, but it's kind of, they're committed to youth sports in the Eanes ISD. So those are my thoughts.
Okay, great. I don't know if the best thing is to have everybody speak and then we can kind of throw in, but if anybody has any comments or thoughts, or it's probably best to address each person's as we go.
It's hard to make a suggestion on it. You know, this is something that could be rolling into the comprehensive plan that's going on at this as we speak. But it is something that, you know, to Don's point, that's something that residents have mentioned many times. You know, what are we going to do to make it more equitable? And it might be something that we, as a commission for this year, try to tackle. Whether or not the city wants to get behind doing that and the costs behind that before their plan is, the comprehensive plan for the whole neighborhood is put together. I don't know. But I like the idea of making it multi-use, and I assume we're talking about the backside beyond the official baseball areas.
Fields 3, 4, and 5. Well, I have seen people throw footballs around on field 1 and field 2, as a matter of fact. And then there was actually some guys throwing the football around yesterday on 3, 4, and 5 in the evening. So those things occur, but it's not, there's no formalization of it or anything, but yeah.
Yeah,
I have seen those things happen.
If we wanted to tackle it, we'd have to come up with a plan. What is it we actually want to get done?
Right.
I'm not sure what the answer is there.
2 days ago, there was a family doing kickball, and then they turned it into a soccer game. So, anyway.
I have something to say.
Yeah.
I'm there in the mornings, usually by 6:30, and there are only adults there then. And by this, I'm saying the average age is, my guess, 60. I don't know. It's all adults though.
It's a dog park.
No, they're not at the dog park. It's dark still. They're not at the dog park. They're on the trail.
Okay.
And a few of them will use the exercise equipment. But I do think that if there was some offshoot, like Dawn was talking about, and actually, as you've alluded to, David, something else for them to do there. So maybe where that playground equipment is, or that exercise equipment is, I don't know, maybe we should rethink and add something else in there. Maybe on the backside, like you were saying, something else in there that's specifically for other people. Maybe like over where we're doing that butterfly garden, maybe put a bench in there, a place for people to stop and visit and drink their coffee when they're walking. But just more of a place for them to gather. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas, but there are a lot of people there in the morning, and they're not the kind of people that are going to get out there and throw a football or come with it, just kids and use the fields. They're going to use the upper park and the backside of it, or anywhere around it. They will use that area. And as far as what they use it for, I don't know. It depends on what we find to put there. But it is, I think it's a great conversation, Don. I'm glad you brought this up.
Thank you.
That all sounds good.
There's I don't want to speak too out of turn, but I'm on the strike force committee, and there's a lot of talk about development of the neighborhood one way or another. And as it relates to our commission, there's Delana Park is still an option, and interested to with talking with Tom Farrell about that area. There's a chance that we can get take advantage of an opportunity to develop that area as well. I know there's interest in having a designated dog park, and that could be one option for that as well. So I'm leaning, if we were taking votes on this today, I'm leaning toward development of Delana Park as well. And just to answer some of those solutions that that other residents seem to want, at all encompassing in Hatley, when it could be partially done in Delana as well.
Just wondering how we access Delana unless Endeavor is willing to allow us to use the parking lots and things of that nature. That's my biggest.
There is, I asked Tom to give me more details on it yesterday, so he hasn't, this was last night's meeting. So in our subcommittee for the survey. So he indicated that Endeavor was very warm on the idea of development in that area, and possibly we could use some of their parking. But if I had more information to share, I would share it.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. We need a way that people can get in there with their cars and that type of thing. It's the biggest issue I've ever had with looking at doing something with Atlanta. I agree that it's an unused piece of property, but it'd be nice to have access. And right now it's kind of landlocked unless Endeavor is willing to allow us ease and access. So
it's worth the pursuit of finding out and taking a study on what it takes to make it accessible. I know it's not ADA accessible at the moment, and we'd have to address that at some point. And it is, the path back there is worn and it needs to be updated, but it's in the realm of possibility. And Tom even said that there'd be a possibility of increasing parking over there. So
yeah, I think it's definitely worth investigating and looking at. There are issues that I have concerns with, which is we seem to have a problem already of not being able to maintain what we've got. So doing more large development when we're not able to really fully maintain our existing facilities is worrisome. And apparently we don't have money or the resources to do that. So once again, that might be, right now that's an overgrown area. Maybe Endeavor would be willing to help subsidize that as a, their people would use it as well. Beautification, and it'd be a nice park area for their employees and the people, the office workers over there to use as well.
Well, they're not going to use it as a tax write-off, whatever they do anyway. So I think it's in their interest.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Is it 2 acres?
What?
David, isn't that about a 2 acre tract?
Thereabouts, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've been there a handful of times. It's potentially just really nice. That creek runs beside it, and seems like it's fairly flat.
One thing we should focus on is having a plan for it. I mean, I'm not saying that it needs to be done tomorrow or in the next 6 months, but not having a plan for it, we would hate to come on the defensive to try to save it for what we want. We would rather, I would rather have an approach where let we have the ideas what we want to do with it first.
Well, keep in mind that it's in the floodplain. I mean, the fact that that Endeavor ever got to do anything with that tract is just mind blowing to me. that whole thing is in the floodplain. So before we spend any money there anyway, you got to recognize that first. So we can't go and put any structures, picnic tables, anything like that in there. I'm just sure, but we'd certainly have to have some advice from somebody before we do that.
That's why I suggest a study.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And there's no easements directly from Rollingwood into that except walking the creek bed. The only access for cars is off of Bee Cave Road.
That would be my,
There's even no footpaths other than through the creek that lead to that property. Is that right?
You could park at the park that is not part of Rollingwood, that park that is from
And
no,
back.
yeah. And there's the abandoned road, Delana Lane back there that you can walk up. But quite frankly, just noticing what people currently do, the reason nobody goes back there is most people aren't willing to walk that far on that road. So yes, I would think the only way you're really going to get any usage of that track is for people to come in off of Bee Caves, somehow be able to park near it with either a parking garage or our own designated parking. You know, perhaps you could repurpose part of Delana Lane. However, right now that Delana Lane Road, the guy that has Sparky's picnic area back there that brings in his Airstream back and forth. So it is that road, albeit an abandoned road, is utilized for some of our residents to access the back part of their properties and to use that. So I don't know if they would be amenable to us repurposing part of that road. Plus you have a pump station back there that our people need to get access to deal with our own pump station infrastructure for Rollingwood. So there's a lot of things on that property back there. There's that pump house right there at Delana as well.
Can you drive from, can you access the Delana tract from that road with a car?
You can off of Bee Caves Road, you will go past.
But not out of Rollingwood.
Not out of Rollingwood, no sir.
Okay.
Now you can access it with, there's been a cut in, so you could access it with a bicycle, probably a mountain bike,
Yeah.
that type of thing, but yeah. And there's a lot of issues along Delana Road, or that Delana Road that would need to be addressed. There's a lot of broken glass in the creek bed. There's a variety of things. And then also there's no way to prevent, there's a lot of wildlife in there. So were you to try to access it, I used to walk my dogs back there, and the big concern is a dog taking off after a deer and running out onto Mopac and that type of thing, or the access road. So there's a variety of issues if you're going to go that route to try to access it off of the small park before you get into Rollingwood, that people would probably, there would be a lot of things to address. Plus the fact, bringing back to Mary Elizabeth's point, oftentimes if there's any kind of a decent rain, that area gets landlocked because it is flooded and there is a floodplain there. So you'll have water several feet going over that bridge on that road that makes it impassable to access it from the backside, you know. So once again, unless you can come off Bee Caves Road, I don't really see a way to get in there without doing huge infrastructure mediations. So I'm probably one of the more familiar people with all that land back there, because at one time I was possibly going to buy the house backing up to it and that type of thing. So I've been over every inch of that land. So anyway. But yeah, it's an underutilized and it's a flat area. It's relatively flat. It could be mowed and cleaned up. Right now, it's got a lot of rubbish in it as well that would, it's not a big deal, but that would need to be taken care of. I mean, basically, they had those office parks there, and there was metal storage, and I think there may still be kind of a ramshackle metal pole barn kind of thing back there as well. I don't know if that's still existing there.
And
So there's things to be cleaned up. Yeah. So anyway.
I think that speaks to my point. If it's an asset of the park and of Rollingwood, then we need
Sure.
to find out what it is we can do with it, what is reasonable
Right.
to build back there or not, and have a plan for what we want to do with it before other people make decisions such as Endeavor, where we can't now that restrict us from doing what we would like to do.
As far as I know, right now, it is designated as a buffer zone between Endeavor and the neighborhood. Endeavor cannot do any development or building on it, to my knowledge, but that, all those things always can change, but I don't think they can do anything. I think it's kind of a buffer zone, part of their setback.
Rollingwood owns it outright, yeah?
I believe so, but I don't know for sure.
I
Okay.
think
It would, at a minimum, you would need rubbish removal. There's probably also been chemicals and things. I remember there used to be large industrial drums back there and things. So before you open it up for children and that type of thing, you might need to do a soil samples to make sure there's nothing toxic back there or anything like that as well.
Honestly, I don't see how you would get children back there. I just don't see it. I've gone back there on my bicycle, and I just don't see how you get children back there. Unless you go through Endeavor.
That's what I'm saying. You have to go through Endeavor.
So this is all real nice talk and everything, and I hate to see the land go to waste. But I think things need to begin with, will Endeavor give us access, and will Endeavor want to go into partnership on this? Because surely if we do anything with it, they're going to want to use it. And unless we restrict them access to it, they will be on it. So I think those are two issues we need to address right off the bat, because it will be an expensive cleanup. It's like a dump back there in some areas.
And we don't have an easement. Is that what I'm hearing? We don't have a dedicated easement to the property?
I'm sure we probably do, because we have a pump station. So we have to have access to that pump station. I can't imagine that we don't have an easement. We've got to have an easement, at least for servicing of that pump station.
We do. We have easement access to the property.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't know if it's something that we can take public through, like with children and so forth. I don't know if it's something like that.
again, that would be a study to find that out. But
Absolutely.
it is something that's a piece of subject matter that's going to be in the comprehensive survey coming up in the later this year, and it is something that I've gotten lots of letters about development of. So it needs, in the very least, we need to answer what people want to do back there, and try to find out what we can do. But maybe that's beyond our scope right now. I'm willing to put that argument down and talk about it another time.
Sure.
I'm glad it was addressed. I think that was good.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Back to Don's point, maybe that's a little maybe more in scope what, maybe we want to tackle a final decision on the back half of Hatley, that what we're going to do, what we would like to see there and do there and develop there, and be done with the argument of it, because it's ongoing. Let's come up with an answer that
Yeah.
everyone can do it.
That park being it's the gem in the middle of our little city. And I'm all for youth sports. I worked with soccer for years, but I'd just like to see it treated like the gem that it is. And if it was done right, you'd have kids out there all the time playing, kickball, touch football, soccer,
Basketball.
baseball games.
Let's have a basketball court in there.
A basketball court would be great. There used to be basketball goals on the parking lot for the pool, but they moved them behind the gates to increase the parking, I guess. So when the pool's closed, there's no hoops available, and my 3-point shot is suffering. So.
Mine has always suffered.
Could we put those basketball hoops in the parking lot where it's like the trailer for the police station used to be?
It'd have to be resurfaced anyway, I would imagine. But
I think that'd be really dangerous to have basketball hoops in a parking lot where people are driving. And
That's where they've been. They've been in the parking lot on the other side of the pool for many years.
Yeah.
sure, I would want to get an opinion from the chief on that.
Okay, and I'm not talking about in the middle of the parking lot, but I'm talking about over closer, in that corner, closer to the restrooms or something, and something we could block off even if we needed to. But they've been in the parking lot for many years with no accidents that I know of on the other side of the police station. So yeah, talk to the police chief, get his feedback and see, have there been any incidents that maybe I don't know about?
Well, there's also just part of ADA. So that part of that parking lot, the 2 or maybe 3 handicap parking are the closest to the restrooms and that type of thing. So there is an issue with perhaps taking over part of that parking lot and trying to do things like that. Granted, I've yet to really see handicapped utilization of those parking spaces, but that is something to consider as well. I mean, once again, I kind of come back to when we're not able to maintain what we've got, doing large capital improvements. I have a very difficult time considering those when we're doing things like shutting off the water fountain for the entire winter because we're concerned about sporadic freezing events and that type of thing.
I thought that was shut off because it was broken.
It is, but now it's been shut down for the entire winter, apparently, according to the sign, because there might be a freezing event. I think, when we can't address things like that with, perhaps insulating the interior of that water fountain better to help it prevent freezing and that type of thing, when we're not able to do what I would consider relatively rudimentary fixes to our existing infrastructure, I'm very hesitant to take on any additional infrastructure.
I understand and I agree. I did not know this. I thought it was a different situation.
No.
I was so disappointed. I was there so thirsty a couple of times and assumed I could get water.
No, and I've seen people walk up to it every day and are kind of like, wanting to get a drink. There's children who want to get a drink and it's shut off for the winter. So unless you go over to the restrooms, that type of thing, you're just out of luck. So it definitely affects our water, our trail. That type of thing.
There is no plan to turn that on this winter?
That's what the sign says.
Can I go back? So This whole conversation started with, we all come with our ideas of a capital project to take on for this year. It sounds like we don't have a consensus on that, and we have a couple other board members are not even here that I know Nicole and Lori would have want to have input as well. Maybe we just table this discussion to the next meeting.
Also, Nicole did send over to me when she found out she wasn't going to be able to attend. She sent me a list of her top 5 priorities. I do agree that, having her here to discuss them would be helpful, but I'm happy to read them.
That would be great.
Guys, I don't know if they're in any order, but she has trail, ADA accessibility, and upper lower park connectivity. That's her first one. Shade structures, a combination of trees and shade sails, parking and crosswalk safety, a separate off-leash dog area, and then consistent signage. So that's what she sent over. But again, I think having her here to discuss those as well would be helpful.
Yeah, I agree with Ashley on that. I think, and then if Lori has input as compelling as that, then maybe we should have this discussion when we have everyone available.
Well, then I would like to add, Don's ideas to that as well. Because I think he has a good point to have activities there for other people than just using it for baseball and softball. But I'd like to add to the agenda next month that we do something about that water fountain. I don't want that water fountain shut off half the year. I don't think it was intended to be shut off for part of the year, and that greatly irritates me. I wouldn't have even worked to try to, never mind. I want something done about that water fountain. Whose idea was it to shut that off for part of the year? Who gave that mandate?
I've got David in here. He's a master plumber, and he can explain as to what the situation is.
Whose decision was that?
Mary Elizabeth, maybe we should have this conversation offline, because this is not listed as an agenda item.
Okay, that'd be fine, but let's put it on agenda item next month, please.
Sure.
Yeah.
So do we need a motion to table the capital projects question?
Well, I would like us to address them, and we can address them again next month, but I think we got halfway into it, and we pretty much, with the exception of Mary Elizabeth and myself, I don't think there's anybody else to talk, but we can talk about it next month as well.
Well, let's have it on the agenda for next month for sure.
Okay, sounds great.
Keep going.
As you all know, I am vehemently opposed to mandating unless we can get something workable. But I know there's a strong drive to get the dogs off of that area, but quite frankly, that's area 3, 4, and 5. There's a large usage of people who meet and recreate with their dogs out on that field, and to ban the use of that area, I think, is ridiculous, unless there is something equally adequate and easily accessible to our citizenry to use for that. So that's my 2 cents on that.
We talking about banning? I didn't know that we were talking about banning anything.
Well, that's what I hear when I hear designated dog park. That's what I hear is that would if you've got a separate thing, then the next logical step in my mind is, well, there's your dog park, and so therefore dogs should not be allowed on 3, 4, and 5.
No, I think we should move the dog park ever, because I think that fact that it's central, that it's like Don was saying, it's the middle of the city, it's the gym, but that's what brings our community together, the people to be able to bring their dogs here. The socialization that goes on among the people that are there is just vital to the community. People talk about their children's schooling and so many other things. I think that is such an important part of Rollingwood. I can't see ever moving the dog park from there.
I agree.
I agree. I can't either, but anyway. I know there are other opinions and some people have desires, but quite frankly, I think there's plenty of utilization and it's one of the larger utilizations. And so far, you know, with a little stumbles here and there, we've been able to hopefully, you know, cohabitate with Western Hills better all the time, you know? So I think it's a large area. I think it's the correct size for the dogs. I think anybody who isn't out there and doesn't see the, you know, the dogs running full force at, you know, around there and that type of thing, don't have an understanding of how much community of Rollingwood is built there. I mean, with the exception of my immediate neighbors, all the neighbors I know and are friends with are as a result of the use of 3, 4, and 5 and me going up there. I wouldn't have met Don otherwise.
That's right.
So
Well, this is Diana Wallace. I don't know if anybody can hear me or not. It's
We
always a
can.
gamble trying to get on. I'm one of the utilizers. I'm 70 years old of the off-leash dog area, and I am extraordinarily grateful for it. I have lived in Austin since before I was born, Rollingwood since before I was born, and I have literally met more people in my last years at the dog park than I have, forgive me, the off-leash area, than I have in all the years that I've lived in Rollingwood. It is a tremendous area of generation communication and time and play, and it's folks that you meet that you'd never meet otherwise, and they are from all over Rollingwood and areas outside. Yes, it's true. And we share and we socialize. And you're talking about wanting activities for the older population and such. This is one of them. And
Yeah,
it's shared with all the other generations. So I don't see any other place in town that's comparable to it. And to lose this place would just be a tragedy. It would truly be a tragedy. There would be no substitute. And you're right, it is the gym in the center of the city. And it was designed for the use and the recreation of, yes, organized activities, but also of the residents. And as a resident, I would beg you to please allow us to continue this. Thank you.
thank you,
thanks,
Ms. Wallace.
Diana. With that, I mean, Mary Elizabeth, do you have a separate item? I think you maybe address your item on the back of Don's, but I want to hear from you, and I think we've heard enough from me.
No, it's great. I just wanted to make sure that, so when we table some of these items to next week discussing, you know, what we want to tackle, I do like the idea of some of the things that I guess it was Colleen that wanted to add to next week as far as agenda items. But I just want to make sure that we look at, you know, options for alternate uses of the park. And I think that, in fact, a lot of times or several times when I've been there working on the butterfly garden, people from the dog park have come over and offered advice or offered plants or whatever. And that's another reason it makes me think having something else back there. I think there's a little bit of space back there to put something else. But no, I don't have anything else to add. I'm good.
Yeah, I like your idea of the bench. There are other benches. I haven't really seen many of them being used, but I do know there's a couple of elderly people who walk the trail, and I think having a bench to take a rest on that backside might make a lot of sense. And particularly if we get that butterfly garden really thriving, that would be a really nice area to sit and contemplate and take a breather.
Right.
Anyway, I don't have anything else. If anybody else has anything else, please speak up. Otherwise, I'm gonna see if we have a motion to adjourn, because that's the only item that we have on our agenda.
I'm good.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
No, I
Do I
think
hear a second? Okay, motion by Don, second by Mary Elizabeth. All those in favor of adjourning this meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Active discussion. I love it, guys. We will talk to y'all soon,
thank you.
next month. All right.
Thanks.
Thanks, Steve.